My foot is stepping, as far as I can, and my shoulder right here is shooting empty like that. See how my hips are underneath me? I'm right here. This arm right here is shooting right here, deep in his crotch. And this hand's coming below his knee. Whoa. Coming here, lowering my level just like before, taking that penetration step. I'm coming in here. He brings his leg back. I'm gonna re-step here, hit my single. Let me show you guys fast. You guys see that? See how it sets up both of them? Say I'm hitting my single here. I'm not coming all the way back out and then shooting my high crotch. I'm staying low in my level still. So I'm here. I'm shooting my leg here. The main thing I always say about this move is I'm going exactly to my setup, what I was talking about earlier. This is, my setup where I like to keep my hands where I feel the most comfortable in a match. So I'm coming, here, and I like to go, I'm high on this tricep. This is, kind of what Nick pointed out earlier. This is one of the reasons that my hand, my thumb comes here. So, I can pull the guy and because of my dump right here. So I'm coming here, and what I was saying, the main thing about this move is my hand is never coming from this spot. It's never leaving this spot once. And the main thing is I don't want my arm down here on his elbow. My hand is as deep as possible in his armpit. And that's just gives me more torque and more pull on the guy. So I'm same as before. I'm inside tie, collar tie. I'm right here, nice and tight to this tricep. And I like to bait this guy. I would bait him with kind of like a bad shot, a bad high crotch. So I would come here and I'm not really trying to really get really deep to this dude's leg. I'm just kind of trying to come to my front headlock right here. And you guys see how my hand, has never left this spot. And this is gonna be super tight to my body. This is, right here, his hand, super high. He's gonna sprawl. And when I feel him sprawl, this arm right here is pinching, to my side. His arm's not going anywhere right now. And I'm gonna switch knees. So that means this knee's gonna come down and this knee's gonna go up. And the same time I'm doing that, I'm pulling this to the mat as hard as I can. And as soon as I hear and I feel his hip hit the mat, I'm circling around and popping my head up and finishing the guy on his back. So once again, I'm coming in here, nice and deep in his armpit and his tricep, as high as I can get in his armpit. I'm taking, just like my high crotch, I'm shooting my high crotch, but what I'm not doing is I'm not releasing this hand. So I'm shooting this high crotch, and he's gonna sprawl on me. And then right here, this is gonna clamp really hard to my body. I'm gonna kind of switch knees and pull this to the ground right here. And then I'm gonna circle around, pop my head out, and finish. And see how my hand's still on this tricep. It's never left once.
Shoulders to the mat.
Right here, nice and high in this tricep. I'll even push into the guy, have him push back into me. And now I'm gonna shoot in here. See how I'm off of this knee right now? Because it's like I'm shooting my high crotch that I just showed you guys. But then once I get here, it's still high in this armpit, nice and tight, as tight as I can to my body. I'm switching knees, pulling the shoulder to the mat, just like that. And I pop my head out. Just like talking about baiting before, is you usually don't want a guy to have an underhook on you, but I let guys have underhooks on me a lot, like here. And this is one of the top places where I hit my dump. This is how I won gold in Junior Worlds, was this move. So I was right here, and the Iranian, they're big into underhooking. That's pretty much all they do. So he was underhooking me hard, and I was walking backwards, acting like I didn't want to be there, when I was actually just setting up the move. And then I was coming here, dumping him over. So you can also do it when the guy has you underhooked and he's pushing really hard into you.
Okay, and his name is Mason Parris. You guys know where the Olympics are at? Paris. Paris. in Parris. It's destiny. It's meant to be, okay? But you know, it takes a village. Mason's always got to where he's got because of his amazing, you know, community and the amazing people that support him. And the reason why you have a community like this is because of who you are. People that aren't great people don't have great communities. And because, you know, it doesn't matter how good you are, if you're not a great person, people aren't going to really want to follow you. Everybody wants to follow Mason. Everybody wants to follow him because he's Mason. He's a very special person, okay? And just so blessed to have him here today, to have him come through Spatola Wrestling, have him here teaching you guys back in our hometown. Real special moment for me, guys. You know, this is why, you know, I just love the sport because the people involved in it and just the awesome, everything that comes with it, okay?
Just want to thank you guys for all coming again. You know, it was a lot of fun. I'll be back tomorrow to show some more technique. You know, you guys did an awesome job. You know, one of the best camps I've had for, you know, people paying attention and just being really engaged in, you know, what I'm showing and in the wrestling and stuff. And, you know, you guys just need to keep at it. You know, wrestling is a really tough sport. It's really hard. I mean, me growing up as a kid, I wanted to quit quite a few times, but, you know, sticking with it and you'll be happy, you know, the rest of your life when you stick through wrestling, and just all the life lessons and everything that wrestling teaches you will just, you know, be with you the rest of your life. And yeah, just thank you guys so much. And
That's it, guys. Another big round of applause.
I always say winning your first state title is always really special. You know, just finally breaking that barrier and, you know, just being, you know, the best guy was like super awesome. Obviously, one of my favorites this year was winning Big Tens in Michigan. That was really cool. And then obviously NCAAs was really cool too. And then I met Donald Trump right after. Like, it was hilarious. He was watching our match, but yeah, they've all been. I have a lot of good memories, a lot of good matches. So once this guy gets a high cross on me, there's a few things that I can do. So the first thing that I can do, this hand right here, is going to go to his head. And the same time I do that, come off of me. I'm releasing my sprawl backwards. I see just a lot of guys like, you know, barely doing it, but like I release my sprawl way back, and I almost come all the way back to my knees. And I'm shooting backwards like this. And it's really hard for a guy to, you know, try to pull and score on me there. So when he shoots on my leg, I'm coming into the head. You know, sometimes I'll block this arm too over here just so he can't, you know, reach off of the double on me. But I like to go to this head, and I'm releasing my sprawl back as far as I can. You know, Coach Kevin Jackson, he always is talking about, you know, you got to release your sprawl, you know, drop everything, you know, as far as you can backwards. And I'm pushing the head. See how my hips come down? And my hips are going to be nice and square on top of him. And my hips are going to be driving kind of into his back right here. And I'm nice enough, you know, I'm not on my knees like this, you know, my hips are down and into him. And then once I get here, you know, to prevent this guy from trying to, you know, build up on me, both these hands right here kind of make like an L shape with my hands. I'm blocking the bottom of the knees. Not his hips up here, but his knees right here. And the exact same time I'm doing that, I'm sliding my hips back. You see how that breaks his lock? And then what I'm going to do from there is I run hamstring always. You know, I know a lot of guys like to run ankles and stuff, but I run hamstring, come up. I just am in a habit. I'm in a habit. I always run hamstrings because they come up right there. And then that's when I just drive off with my double. And the guy can't go anywhere. He can't escape me if I'm running his hamstring. And his hamstring's the nearest thing to me.
Guys, that bottom of the knees that he blocks, I think that's a key little detail.
Yeah,
Because I think when I'm just thinking in my head right now, I kind of block up a little bit higher. You know, so right now I'm thinking in my head, okay, I just learned something. I did. Maybe you already think. Okay, but I mean, I'm like, okay, now makes sense.
yeah, I think we kind of always just block the knees.
Yeah, I'm always just up.
Instead of the scooting forward with those knees. So just blocking my hips. So I'll show you guys again. So be a good partner, shoot a good high cross on the guy. Remember this hand, I'm shoving this guy's head down, you know. Remember what we talked about a lot yesterday, is when I want to be an offensive guy, when I'm shooting on a guy, my head is always up because I want to go up and I want to pick the guy across. So I'm trying to prevent him from bringing his head up and across on me. So I'm trying to shove his head straight into the mat. So at the same time I shove his head straight into the mat, my legs are releasing really far back. A lot of times I'll break the lock if I release my hips, you know, strong enough and far enough back. And I like to come to my knees just for a second usually. Just you know, because I have a lot of pressure, you know, with these hips right here like this. Instead of like on my toes, I have, you know, even more pressure. Scoot back on these hips. Hands, remember, at the knees, not at the hips. At the same time I do that, I scoop my legs back just like that. And it'll most of the time break his lock. You know, sometimes the guy will try to keep his lock, but if he goes to his stomach, you know, I can still, you know, support him there easily. So here, I'm blocking the knees. And a lot of times, too, I'll just throw this out there. When I really need to get this leg back, I'll limp it down like this, flat to the mat, slide it back, like that. So it's almost like I'm hitting the side of my foot and sliding it back. It's not just like giving him that hit, just putting more pressure on him to get my leg back. So this you guys to work on here. Just partner, shoot a good high cross in on your partner. And then this guy's gonna shove this guy down in the mat, release his hips way back. You know, as far as he can. My hips are down and into him. My hips aren't back. Down into him. My hands are blocking at his knees. And at the same time I'm doing that, I just push back and keep scooting back. Then once I get that, I'll just chase the guy's hamstring and spin around. I see a lot of guys that will try to run body. Once they break this lock, they try to run body, and then, say he runs body, he did all this work, I can, you know, circle out of that. But if I'm on this hamstring here, and then kind of put it away, I can finish off on the belt when I stay on this hamstring. And back of the head, releasing that skull back. I'm scooting back a little bit. My hands are going to his knees to break his lock. Once his lock breaks, I'm going to the hamstring and circling around and getting into my pin. You know, I think I can score a lot of times. So all I do here, I pull at this elbow. Not at this, you know, not the armpit or the hand. I pull at this elbow. And the same time I'm pulling at this elbow, this foot steps over top of my other foot. Like that. And it's like impossible to hold on to the grip. Because his grip's going like this and pulling this way. So it's like really, really hard for him to hold. So, you know, that's a little something you guys can work on too. Blocking his hips here, he goes to his stomach. You know, all I'm doing, I'm pulling this elbow up, and this foot is stepping over top of the other one, just like that. And then when I do that, I'm squaring my hips back up and circling around. But let me show. Again. These empties, I can't get my leg back. I'm popping with my hips, moving his head inside, moving the semi-sprawl back. With my hips down, he keeps his lock. His hands coming to his elbow. I'm stepping over top, squaring my hips back up.
Hey guys, this is defending like the best guy, right? Like a really good wrestler gets in deep, and I want you to understand that.
So just like Nick said, you know, I want to release my sprawl normally, but sometimes, you know, things happen. You know, the guy beats my head in my first two lines of defense, and he's on my hips already, and I can't get my hips back. So what I'm going to do, I pop him on my hips. So it's just, you know, right in his shoulder right here, and that's just creating a little bit of separation for me to slide his head on the inside. So I just use my forearm right here, slide his head to the inside. And then I'm doing, you know, my single leg defense where my hands come to the back of his head and I'm putting my sprawl back again. So I'm right here, you know, it's pretty much the same as before, but his head's on the inside now. And you know, when a guy's head on the inside, I want to put, you know, my belt right on his back, and I'm, you know, really putting a lot of pressure on his shoulders right here. And then same as before, blocking the knees. And then sometimes, you know, the guy will hold on to your leg and he'll go to the stomach, and you know, it's hard to, you can't block his knees anymore, so like, you're not sure what to do. This hand right here is gonna come to this elbow. So his elbow that's holding onto the leg on the outside, you're gonna pull his elbow upwards, and then your leg's gonna step over your other leg. Just like that. And that's breaking the lock. It's really hard for the guy to hold on, and then I'm gonna just square up my hips and go back behind.
We'll get one more like medium height.
On this guy. Always going into him, I want to keep his weight on his hands, because if his weight's on his hands, it's going to be, you know, hard for him to do like a stand-up and stuff. First thing, I'm just going to show you guys kind of my ride series that I hit in college, and I rode pretty much everyone with this, and everyone.
Your riding got incredible.
Everyone hated
Towards
it.
he wasn't that great of a rider in high school because you didn't have to.
I cut everyone after I would get a takedown, so I never rode anyone until I had to go to college.
It took you a couple years
Yeah.
to get really good on top. Okay, but you know, it was one of the reasons why he was an NCAA champion. He was able to, I mean, with NCAA finals, got riding time, didn't he?
Yeah, like a pretty long time.
Yeah. Yeah, NCAA finals, he kept the guy down on the mat for minutes. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, so the first thing that I like to do when I get on top of a guy, you know, I'm trying to move his weight onto his hands a little bit. So, you know, normal start here. And the first thing I like to do is I'll do an elbow chop first. So right when the whistle blows, my knee, do a 90 degree for me. As soon as the whistle blows, my knee is driving up and forward like that. And my foot is pretty much gonna stay, you know, underneath him this whole time. And then, so while I'm doing that, I'm also gonna do an elbow chop, which everyone knows a good elbow chop. But the thing that I do a little bit differently with my elbow chop is when I come to my elbow chop here, this hand right here is kind of like flanking in his inner thigh right here. The reason I do that is because if someone elbow chops me, like I can go to a sit out here or like go to a sit out, but if I'm flanking this guy's leg, he won't be able to sit out on me. So there's really nowhere he can go. So I come here, driving my knee up his butt. I'm chopping, you know, right at his elbow here. This other hand is just flanking. You guys all know like a spiral ride, right? It's pretty much a combination of a spiral and an elbow chop. So I'm coming here like this. And then once I come here, this guy, you know, his elbow is usually on the mat, and I'm still driving this knee in. And I come, you know, I usually come inside right here, and I come to this wrist. And then from this wrist right here, you know, I can ride this guy pretty well. It's tough for him to do anything because, you know, I have control of his wrist now. I bring this other hand here and I pull his hamstring and pull his weight forward this way. And then I get on top of him. And now I have his arm right here, which is gonna tie into my chicken wing. I'm gonna show you guys next. But then just, you know, when I'm on top of this guy here, you know, I'm super comfortable here. Get just like that. When I'm on top of this guy here, this is what I would hit in high school a lot too. It's called, we called it a cowboy ride. My knees are on the outside of his legs and my toes are on the inside. And this is just kind of keeping this guy's pressure down. And I'm gonna fight, I like to fight for these wrists a lot. So I like to call it, you know, motorcycling it in. I always am fighting for these hands, trying to dig out wings, just really getting this guy's arms really tired. And then the same time I'm doing that, I'm riding. But you know, sometimes the ref will say, you know, don't stall, you're riding the hips too much. All I'm gonna do there is I'm just gonna come out to the side a little bit, act like I'm working some moves, and that's what's gonna help me, you know, get my riding time. And begin for the move. My knee is driving up his butt. I want to keep the weight on his hands. That's the most important thing. If I'm trying to chop here, it's just gonna be hard for me to get the move good if his weight is not on his hands. So I'm driving him forward, his hand flanking in his inner thigh, this hand's chopping at the elbow, I'm coming here. And the same time I chop, my foot or my knee is driving up his butt, I'm on my toe right here. And then once I come here, my hand comes inside and I come to this wrist right here. And then I can do a lot here. I have, you know, a lot more control of this dude. And then this hand, I can ride the guy as much as I want here, you know, moving around, act like I'm working. This hand though, once I want to break him down, I'm coming to his hamstring and I'm kind of coming off of my toes right here. And I'm pulling him, you know, forward over top of his head in a straight line. Just like that. And now I have this wrist here where I'm going to show you guys next so you can dig out your weight.